Those leaders think if I don't do it myself, it won't be done right. They're micromanaging. And they become the bottleneck. Instead of empowering your team, trusting that you attracted the right teammates for what you want to accomplish, letting them know what the outcome is, empowering them to use their gifts to be able to get it done. We worked with my previous firm. We had a teammate that was on. He worked directly with Jeff Bezos of Amazon.
Welcome to the podcast, where we introduce you to incredible humans who share their journeys with the mission to inspire you to harness your own inner tenacity to drive your life and career forward. And now, your host, Adam Posner.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast, where I bring you the best and the brightest in the world of business, marketing, and personal growth to help you harness your inner tenacity and drive your career forward. Folks, my guest today is Brooke Dukes, a powerhouse behavioral business strategist, international best-selling author, speaker, and the host of Burn On, Not Out. She's a founder of BMD Consulting, where she helps CEOs and executive teams scale their companies without sacrificing their sanity or their soul. A former Fortune 500 leader turned serial entrepreneur, Brooke brings more than 20 years of experience in leadership development, sales performance, and cultural transformation. And she blends behavioral science, neuroscience, human design, and a lived leadership to create systems that actually stick because they're built around how humans work. She's a creator of the Grace Communication Framework and the Culture Compass diagnostic tools that have helped her clients generate over $54 million in revenue, cut leadership turnover by 22%, and build magnetic, burnout-free cultures. And known for her grounded presence and unapologetically direct coaching style, Brooke doesn't sugarcoat, she upgrades. How about that? Let's get to it. Brooke Dukes, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Did I sum it all up? Are we done? Do we even need to have this conversation?
I think that was perfect. Thank you so much.
Well, I love your background here. We're going to get into all that in a moment here, but I really want to frame this up here, and I love asking guests. Lately, I've been doing this for the past year because it's interesting about their origin story. May I ask you what your parents did for a living or do for a living?
Yeah. So my father was a wood pattern maker, which most people outside of the Midwest have no clue what that is. Essentially, he made all of the car parts out of wood as a cast before they were made out of iron. And my mother ran dental offices.
That is so fascinating. So how does that translate into you going into a career in corporate America?
Well, I would say my father, he was an entrepreneur early on in his life. It didn't go so well. He ended up having to claim bankruptcy. But I think that part of that gave me the spark. And being in corporate America, I did not like it at all. And I was with 2 Fortune 500 companies and it sucked.
I'm smiling here. And you started your career in corporate sales at Amex. Like, what initially drew? And it's funny too, because I'm going to talk about this in a second. And I've talked about this before. I spent some time at American Express, and I realized on day one it wasn't right for me. Literally day one, minute one, I realized. But why'd you go big companies first? Is that just the thing to do?
Yeah, I'm going to date myself, but yeah, in the 90s, it's just what you did. I mean, especially coming from, I was the first college graduate of my family. It's what you did. I had a lot to prove, right? And I really wanted to climb up the corporate ladder. And that was what I chose. And I was 34 when I left corporate and never looked back.
Same here. It's so funny too. And I mean, American Express, I mean, you look at that name, it looks great on the resume. You think it's going to be amazing. And don't get me wrong, American Express is a fantastic company. I loved my time there. I was there around 2011 here working in New York in the big building downtown. And it's a great incredible benefits. But for me personally, it just wasn't right. And I knew that the minute I walked in. I am a below average student. I did well in my career, but when I went there, the first question folks were asking me is like, "Oh, what B school did you go to?" And I didn't go to business school or anything. And they'd be like, "What B school did you go to?" I go, "Yeah, I went to Buffalo. I went to University of Buffalo." They're like, "Oh, for you got your MBA there? I didn't know they had that program there." I'm like, "No." And I would get this look of like, "Oh, this guy just came in. He's probably making more money than us, and we all have these like advanced degrees, and he just got this role here." And I kind of felt that the whole time, and I find that a lot when you realize, especially early on in your career, that sometimes it's more important to learn what you don't like so you could face it forward. So what really didn't you like about that at corporate America?
Well, they recruited me out. My first job was actually selling copiers, where I had to make 200 cold calls a day out of the yellow pages. Now that's really showing you how long ago that was. So I was there for about a year and a half. American Express recruited me out. So I was at the beginning, I was just grateful to be out of selling copiers. I mean, short of cleaning porta potties, it's really a horrible job. But the first thing is they told you out of the gate, we hired 300 salespeople. We were on the corporate side of things, corporate card, corporate purchasing card, all of that. And half of you will be fired within the first year.
Wow.
I mean, right out of the gate, I was like, oh,
okay. Way to manage expectations.
okay.
All right.
Right? So that, and it lit a fire under a lot of us. I ended up being rookie of the year. So that was nice. I was a little more terrified than most, I think, and overachieving, but it was very cutthroat. It was fun. I was there for 8 years.
That's a long
And I
time.
moved up the ladder, and because, as you know, we're the largest travel agency in the world. So the sales meetings, being in my early 20s, were pretty amazing. So
I can
they
imagine.
dazzled
Back
you with that.
before cell phones and everyone with their cameras everywhere, people had fun.
It was. So
Cameras
it
keep us all in
was
line
fun, and then
now.
it just lost it. Pardon me?
I said cameras keep everyone in line now, right? There's cameras
They
everywhere.
do.
They
Yep,
they absolutely do. But you worked your way, up the ladder there, and other
I did.
companies well into the C-suite too. What was, what were those early challenges for you as a people leader as you progressed in your career that you had to learn how to do and do better?
I think that that's what really prompted me to get into consulting. And a lot of our focus is all about communication. In my opinion, every area of business, if you're having a challenge in it, probably one of the root causes is communication in some form or another. So, and what I realized as a salesperson, then a sales leader, and then when I went on to start my own businesses, communication was key. I mean, you can even take, because one of the companies I worked for, my Fortune, the second company after American Express, the product was not the best on the market.
Mm.
And what I recognized is people didn't necessarily care about that. If you could meet their need, the emotional need they were unconsciously asking for, they listened to you and they would probably buy from you, because people buy for emotional
people.
reasons and they justify with logic. So that was what really sparked me getting more into psychology and behavioral science, and later on in human design, and all of that was really understanding the way that the brain works and how to be able to build rapport and connection with people.
I mean, that's a life skill that comes with experience and self-awareness, radical self-awareness. To understand what you just spoke about really comes with knowing thyself, if I'm going deep here, and then being able, how do you translate to others, right? And you've coached high achievers for 20 plus years, and you were one yourself. What was that moment you realized that doing more wasn't the same as leading in alignment?
So it started really, and that's why I left corporate America. And when I wrote my book, it was the day I went into preterm labor on a corporate jet. So my boss at the time, I had been working on a deal for United Airlines. It was an IT outsourcing company. We are outsourcing part of their call center to Nova Scotia. We worked on it for a year and a half. I had a team of 25 people that I was leading for it. 8 months pregnant. The CEO said, we want you to bring the team out to Nova Scotia, show us everything, blah, blah, blah. Great. I prepped my right-hand person, who was better suited anyway, because I was the quarterback. I wasn't the IT expert. They needed an IT expert. My boss said, great. And then she'll get your bonus, which was a 6-figure bonus.
Ooh.
So I went on the corporate jet, went to preterm labor. Everything was fine. My daughter actually is a pro soccer player now. So
Oh, wow.
all good.
Awesome.
But it really showed me that working hard, especially as a woman, we typically think if we can just outwork the men, then we'll get what we deserve. No, I got COVID and shingles at the same time. So this is not a one and done where I learned my lesson. It's been a lifelong lesson, because I truly had that belief ingrained in me that you had to struggle and work hard and grind it out to be able to have success. And so now my life's work is really about teaching people that slowing down, getting more into the body, out of the head, into the body, listening to your intuition, you're your own biggest success strategy, right? You're your own guru. You can create more with less.
But it's so hard. It's so hard these days, especially to slow down in this ever on world. We have communication at our fingertips. Folks are expecting instant replies, instant gratification, instant numbers, and then we're conditioned to provide that. And you have to set boundaries. I mean, I've learned that you have to set boundaries, and you do that mentally, and you also do that through tactics. For example, just a simple tactic I use is I might reply to an email right away, but I'll set it to send an hour and a half later, so they don't realize that I'm like ever present all the time. Simple things like that really, really help there. But I want to double back, Brooke. What was that decision point? Was it that point on the plane? You're like, I'm done with corporate America. I'm going out on my own. What was that? Had to be it.
That was because what I realized was if someone was looking at me from the outside, all they would think I cared about was success and climbing up the ladder. And that could not have been further from the truth. So I was living outside of my values because I had an amazing husband, soon to be 2 great kids. And I had so many more things that I found much more valuable. But to your point, it really is about awareness and self-exploration and looking at, I was doing it out of fear because my mother was married to a man for 10 years longer than she should have been that abused her and I because she couldn't afford to leave. She couldn't support us. And I didn't realize that that was my driving force behind why I wanted more and more success, but I was just trying to stay safe. So once I could understand that, then it helped me to make the shifts that I needed to make.
Was that decision hard though? Like in the moment, tactically, to like say, I am done with corporate America. Now I'm going to go out on my own and build a business.
So hard because I'd built my entire identity around being with a large company, climbing up the ladder, having the success, having the expense, having all the things. And I didn't do it right away because luckily enough, I had my child and was able to go on maternity leave. So I had some time to think about it. And I went back and forth. It was not easy. Luckily enough, my husband was really supportive and was recognizing that it was taking a toll on us, on my health, on everything. And no money's worth that.
No money's worth that.
I was one of the lucky ones that had the support of my family behind me as well.
And it's a tough one. I want to go back to what you said in that last statement. When so many folks correlate and identify themselves by what they do professionally versus who they are.
Right.
And the ability to separate that. And I see it in my friends. I see it in other folks too. Their identity is tied to their job. And that's not the best for most people. How do you coach folks to break away from that? How do you coach folks to separate that? Because that's ingrained, especially after 20, 30 years in corporate America or working for, a W-2 9-to-5 job, separating that.
Yeah. I mean, because when you look at that because most people are doing it for safety for some reason, right? But when you really think about it, that's the least safe thing you can do because you are putting how you feel about yourself based on how others are viewing you. So we really look at it as we help people to build that internal motivation to really shift that identity away from the external motivation where how everyone sees me, the job I do and all of that determines how I feel about myself to how I feel about myself, what I want in this world. That determines how I feel. Again, not an overnight thing, but that's really where everyone in the world needs to be. Because if they can pick up on, okay, yeah, that is really quite scary. Because as we know, especially in this world right now, the way someone views you can change in one sentence. In a moment,
and people see you everywhere in visibility. And that's why, I hate the term personal branding, but how you put yourself out there in the social universe is critically important. So I want to talk a little bit, You often say ambition without self-trust isn't sustainable. I love that. What does that look like in real life for founders and executives who hit the top but feel stuck?
A lot of times, the people that come to me and anyone over the past 20 some years that I've worked with, they've been grinding it out. They've been working, they've been following the experts, right? They've been following a system that doesn't necessarily align with who they are, their energy levels, their human blueprint. And so, really, to help them to be able to see, that's where human design came in. Why, after being, in business, my fourth company, after 15 years, I decided, wow, there's something to this. Because what it does is it cuts that awareness time, something that could have taken me 3 to 6 months to learn about someone, to help them to learn about themselves. They can learn at one setting just by giving me their birth information. And then I know what are their gifts, what are their challenges that they're probably experiencing throughout their lives and right now, what are the things that are holding them back, what were they put here to do. Those things are all right there in their design, whether they're living it or
How-
not.
From their birth information?
Yes.
How does
So
that work? I'm curious.
yeah. So human design, it's how everyone thinks it's all woo woo and all this, and it's not. It's all about neutrinos. And neutrinos there's nothing woo woo about it. In fact, China right now is spending $100 million a year to study neutrinos. What happens with neutrinos, where the planets are aligned at the time, the place, the date of your birth, is what structures your DNA. And so then what happens is you have a blueprint, right? An energetic blueprint from the day you were born that gives you how best you make decisions, right? It really shows you
How accurate
who
is
you
that though? How
are.
proving that out? Like how devil's advocate, like how accurate is that? Like and I should have given you my birth date
Oh, and
before the
I
show.
forgot we were supposed to ask for that. I apologize.
No, I would have loved to see this real time because I'm curious in it too. So generally speaking, how accurate is this practice?
What I have found is what we do. Here's how your design you were born with. Well, with years of conditioning and trauma and all the things, you have to dig through that to get to those. 100% of the time, I've been doing it now for over 5 years, aligning it with neuroscience, behavioral science, all the things. Every time people are like, holy shit, I've been wondering that my entire life. Like, you can't make this stuff up. It's so accurate and so spot on and so nuanced. And after this, I'll send you a link and you can go get your human design, and then you'll get a series of emails telling you specifically about you. It's really
It's
simple.
very interesting here, and we'll link that up down in the comments, obviously. But let's get back to it. Like, so any leaders that are listening right now who are chasing success, but they're losing themselves, what's that first sign or signal that they're out of alignment?
Anytime that you're feeling, so you make a decision and you're feeling frustrated, angry, it doesn't work out, all the things that can happen, you probably made that decision out of fear and you're out of alignment. Because if you think when you're making, and it's all these snap decisions and I've got to do this, you're fear-based, you're fearing something, you're fearing failure, you're feeling this won't work, you're feeling judgment, all the things. Whenever you make a decision based on that, it's not going to work out the way that you want to.
No way,
Even
never.
if you have some level of success in that decision, you would have had so much more had you followed your own alignment. And that's what human design teaches you. For me, I'm a manifesting generator. When I am out of alignment, I feel frustrated and I feel angry. When I'm in alignment, I feel peace and I feel satisfaction. There's 5 designs. Every single design has their in alignment feeling and out of alignment feeling. So it's really easy to pick up. They're like road signs for you through your journey through life. How did I feel before I made this decision? How did I feel after? Okay, here's what the result was. Now I know what feeling in alignment and out of alignment feels like.
Hey everybody, Adam here from the Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by the team at Fountain. Fountain is your full-service frontline workforce management platform. I have to tell you, Fountain's offerings are some of the most robust I've seen for any product in the space. They offer full solutions for hiring, managing, and retention. They are truly a one-stop shop focused on the frontline workforce. They also create informative content using their data. For example, they analyze a bunch of data from their fast food chains and created a trend report you could download now on their website. They also have a new ebook out called Frontline Voices. There's a lot to dive into. Certainly check it out. And you could learn more at fountain.com, linked in the show notes. Thank you. That's so important. It's so important to have these tools so you could have the awareness to self-correct, or if you can't self-correct, find those resources to help you. So talking about self-correcting a lot, I mean, burnout is a massive, massive issue these days with so many executives. And you see many founders aren't just burned out, but they're actually the bottleneck in their own company.
Yes.
What does that look like?
So typically what's happening with that is it's lack of trust. It's lack of trust in themselves for picking the right team. It's lack of trust in their team. Those leaders think if I don't do it myself, it won't be done right. They're micromanaging, and they become the bottleneck. Instead of empowering your team, trusting that you attracted the right teammates for what you want to accomplish, letting them know what the outcome is, empowering them to use their gifts to be able to get it done. And here's the thing, we worked with at my previous firm, we had a teammate that was on, he worked directly with Jeff Bezos of Amazon. Whether you like him or not, you have to say that he's been a bit successful. Had a little bit of success in his life. And one of the main principles that he used was 80%. I want 80% accuracy, and then I want it out the door. If you took the time to get that extra 20%, you just cost the company millions and millions.
Yeah. And there's a level of action over perfection.
Yeah. Absolutely. Perfectionism, one, nothing's ever perfect.
No.
And two, you're costing yourself and your company money when you try to get there.
So when the visionary becomes the limitation, right? Like what's that first step to rewiring that pattern so they could reclaim strategic altitude?
Yeah, it really is just about like the challenges that they're experiencing, really understanding where do they want to go? What are the challenges that they're experiencing? What are their gifts? Because in my opinion, in working with hundreds of leaders throughout my career, leaders should be working 80% of the time on things, especially the CEO, the founder, on things that only they can do. Building the vision, the overarching strategy, working on the business.
On the business, not in the business.
Exactly.
Big difference.
Yeah, 20% is in the business, supporting their team, doing the things that they need to do that may not be, someone else could do, but they've got to jump in. They've got to work in the business. But 80% of the time, so it's really determining what does that 80% look like, is getting them to really relinquish control so that they can allow their team to step into their own genius. Because when you're micromanaging your team, you're holding them back and you're not
100%.
seeing exactly what they could accomplish.
Let's shift a little bit about culture, and you created the culture compass, which is to diagnose friction inside of teams. What are those common patterns that you're seeing in burnout prone high growth companies? What are we seeing out there these days?
As it relates to culture, and a lot of times it is, so there's from our perspective, there are 8 cultures that a company can fall into. And when you have a company that, let's say it's really all about achievement at all costs. And so that is taking it's a very masculine frequency of take massive action and get things done and make it happen. And you're really encouraging people to take action out of fear, right? That is, you'll get that a lot in sales organizations. Those leaders are like, I don't care what you did for me yesterday, what you're going to do for me today. The opposite end of the spectrum is more on the connection side of it. And so it's so built on relationships that the leaders and the employees in the company could make a bad decision for the company just to save a relationship. So they lose sight of that balance of creating win-win scenarios because it's so much focused on relationships. So those are just two extremes of the 8
right.
cultural.
And there's happy mediums within each, right? Listen, if you're a sales organization and your mission is selling, there has to be a certain culture around drive and ambition, but doing it the right way with empathy and care, and not out of fear.
Yes.
Like that's a big one. How do you motivate people in a sales organization? It's numbers, right? Like, but how do you do that in a way that's the right way? That's a tough one. It's not the Wolf of Wall Street days anymore. Well, actually, it is in some places. Let's be real.
Well, it can be. Absolutely. And that would be that achievement, that highly aggressive culture. And that's one of the reasons why, having most of my life in sales in some way or another, we created a sales style assessment, because even salespeople are motivated by different things. So many sales leaders make the mistake of thinking all salespeople are motivated by money. That's not true. They're motivated by a lot of different things. And so when you can figure out what motivates your individual salespeople, that's gold. And
so take it to the individual level versus, if you can, but that's not always scalable, right?
Well, it can be. If you are mad, it's very simple to be able to, and that's where you mentioned earlier the GRACE formula. What that is it's a communication tool.
Yeah, let's break that down a little bit. Let's dig in. What is that all about?
So we've taken Maslow's 6 basic human needs, if you're familiar with those. 4 of those needs we're using during communication, and that is connection, achievement, recognition, and growth. We've renamed them to make them, that's not exactly what they're called in Maslow, but it's the same concept.
Right.
And so during an interaction, so I'll give an example.
Please.
You and I talked. I knew almost instantly from what you were wearing, the questions that you were asking, I knew you are internally motivated and you're focused on others. You care about others. You have your own internal motivation and you're focused on growth.
That's a fair assessment based on my hoodie. I'm just comfortable.
Questions you ask. Yeah, exactly. You have that internal motivation. You want to feel comfortable. You want to be able to give the best podcast interview you can. To do that, you need to feel comfortable. Right? The questions that you asked me, it was all about me. Tell me, and it wasn't just because you wanted to have a great interview. It was deeper than that. So you can pick up on any one of those within the first few seconds of meeting with someone, and then be able to give them what they need.
But how do you do that without biases? How do you remove biases from that decision with that framework? Right? Because inherently, if I look at somebody, I'm going to try to size them up based on how they look and what they're wearing. Right? Like that's...
No, and it's the words that they say. So let me give you an example. If you're going to compliment someone, if I complimented you and said, man, podcast is the shit. I love this. I love what you're doing. I would imagine, say, thank you. My team and I have worked really hard.
Something like that.
That is a growth communication style. If I said that to someone that was an achievement communication style, they're internally motivated, they're internally focused, they would say, thank you. But that is that.
That's it.
That's where many CEOs in America sit. Nothing wrong with it. It just what it is. If you were to say to someone that was leading with connection was their main communication style, they would say, no, it's not me, it's my team, because they are externally motivated and externally focused. It's all about others. If you said it to someone that was more recognition, they are internally focused, but they are all about how others feel about them, right? They would say, yeah, you're right. I did it all myself. It was amazing. And they would proving statements. So there's tricks on that, because when you recognize that, in order to influence and build rapport, building rapport is the first step in having someone want to hear you and hear what you have to say and influencing them. When you understand that, you automatically take your biases out of it.
It's so interesting too, because if more leaders were able to use these tools on an individual framework, how much more they would get out of their employees, how much better they would relate to them, and how this would all bubble up to culture. My definition of culture really is how someone feels valued in the workplace, how they
Absolutely.
feel, and having a clear upward growth mobility. And that adds to loyalty within the organization. Saying, I enjoy what I'm doing here. I'm being recognized for it. I'm doing good work. My leadership sees it. They recognize it. And I see a clear path forward. Now, on the other side of that, for leadership to understand how each individual employee feels that and responds to that, that's how you drive real growth, right?
It is. And that's called an empowering culture, which would align beautifully with your growth style of communication. There are others, right? And it could be nuanced and they could be just as successful. It really depends upon leadership style, the product that you're selling, the industry that you're in, on what culture is going to best fit. But there are three that are really the ones that help give people what they need for the different nuances and the different types of styles and products and services and all the things.
I mean, but how do you do that at scale?
How do you do what at scale?
How do you empower that kind of mindset? At the top of executive leadership at these massive enterprise companies. I mean, what are some of those basic principles and techniques that they could use?
Well, what we do and
Like
why
on a
we
mass
create a
level, right?
culture compass is it is an assessment, because there's no way to get all of this. Even if you interviewed everyone in your company
Yeah,
one-on-one,
it's not feasible.
they're going to tell you typically what you want to hear. This is an anonymous assessment, and it really helps to understand, one, what do the people believe their culture is today? Two, where would the ideal culture, where they'd be happiest and most productive? And then we really break it down into the 8 areas that we really feel influence culture. And we ask them some questions on, where do you need more training in these 8 areas? Where do you think the company's doing well? So the assessment takes about 15 minutes. And then the leader gets a 90-minute consultation with myself or one of our master trainers with a detailed report that has a plan. So it's a standalone assessment. You don't have to hire us. You can do it all on your own. And it's a 5-year plan, because with culture, you've heard the saying, I'm sure, you don't want to boil the ocean. You don't want to screw up what's working.
Right. You don't want to mess. You don't want to taint the water. Some things might be working.
Exactly. So we put together a plan based on the challenges they're having and all the things like that. But that's the way to really systematize in how to move your culture more into that growth area, so that you're attracting top talent, you're retaining it, all the things.
So, Brooke, you have your ear to the ground at so many different companies these days, and we're in such a state of turmoil in the workplace right now. Everything between economic uncertainty, we're a couple of years past COVID. We have this consistent battle of remote work versus work from home work, and stresses, and just the world is shit right now. Like, what are you feeling out there? What are you seeing? The good, the bad, and the ugly.
So here's how I choose to look at it.
It's a loaded
believe
question.
that I'm not glad things are happening, and I believe things happen for a reason.
Right.
I think we had to see how bad it could get. We had to really see, for so many years, all of this unrest between us, this division between us as a country and as a world, it was always there.
Right.
Now we're just seeing it. Well, you have to be aware of something before you can change it. I believe we're moving from that masculine frequency, which has nothing to do with gender. We need to call it something else.
It's an energy, right? It's misleading.
Push, force, make it happen, grind it out, into the more feminine frequency of ease, flow, into it. And so empathy. That I have a really good view on the world right now. I'm not unhappy that it's happening. And I really do believe it's our path forward to unite as we needed to, because we weren't before either.
No, I truly hope so. Sometimes you need to see the dark. You need to experience the dark side to see the light. I truly believe that. And it's so tough now, even, parenting, and how you could apply these principles, with your children, and how much of the world do you want them to see? Because this is the world that they live in, and you don't want to isolate them and shield them from everything. But also, you're a parent, and you need to protect them. How do these principles apply to parenting?
Oh, I apologize.
We're going to pause for this short dog barking break over here.
Yeah, sorry. Winston. My goodness.
This is recorded real time. Brooke is living her life. The dogs.
I apologize. My family forgets that I'm on a podcast.
It's all good.
But anyway, so parenting. I think for me, two things have really supported, and I have a 27-year-old and a soon to be 24-year-old.
You've lived it. You have adult children.
I do. Is really the communication is key in understanding what they need. Human design has helped so much because my children are very different from me, even though we're the same, but understanding who they are, what they need, and that they have a voice, they have value to add. And to your point, yes, we can't shield them from everything. And I don't think we should. The world is there. I think you need to have honest conversations with them. Tell them the way that you feel. Don't tell them the way that they need to feel, and say, you need to come to your own conclusions on what this means to you. Here's what it means to me.
Interesting. Talk to us a little bit about the podcast. What's it all about? What gets you excited about it?
So the podcast is all for high achieving people, individuals that are running on fumes, right? They want to learn these principles. How do I maintain a level of success that I'm used to or gain more success by doing less? Like, I'm overwhelmed, burning out. I can't keep doing this, but I'm terrified to do anything else.
Right.
So we really walk through, because this is, as I said, this is an ongoing journey for me. We're in the process of writing a second book, because over the 2.5 years since I wrote the last book, we've changed a ton.
Yeah.
In really getting back. I do not want to be anyone's guide, guru, strategist. I want to teach them how to be their own. And that's what we're doing by just sharing the experiences that I've had, the mistakes, all the things.
That's what it's all about.
And giving them evidence that it can be done, because I'm living it.
Living proof here. Brooke, what's keeping you up at night these days?
Oh gosh, my dogs, as you heard. That's one thing. I think for me, I am so excited about what we're doing. Like, I love what we do. And I have an amazing team with awesome ideas. We're the podcast, we're releasing an AI coaching app, we're doing a retreat. Like, there's so much to do, and I love it all, that sometimes it keeps me up, because I'm just like, I don't want to sleep. And I have to remember, rest is taking it slow. Rest is an amazing success strategy. So.
Rest and recharge. And what's lighting you up these days?
Oh, what's lighting me up, I would say, is we have a community called Success by Design. We're kind of revamping that a little bit for 2026. We've got some great things that we're showing them. As I already mentioned, Oz, our new app that we're going to launch in February. We've got an awesome retreat in May, and I'm writing a book. So
there you go. Keeping
a lot of things.
Keeping busy. Brooke, this has been a fantastic conversation. But one last question for you before we wrap up, and it's my favorite one and why I save it for last. Looking back on your career, anyone who looks at it on paper, like, wow, Brooke is tremendously successful. But inside, we each have our own definitions. Brooke Dukes, how do you define success?
I define success by really when I feel fulfillment, peace, and satisfaction and love. And I look at all of the people. Our goal in our company is to raise the frequency of the world, to teach people how to have success and fulfillment. I absolutely love it.
Awesome. You could tell that you love it. And I love when I see people who have found their passion, because very few people from the start of their careers are on that trajectory. It takes time. It takes learning. It takes, trial and error and living life. And when you get to a certain point in your life, that's when you're fulfilled. You're like, I'm on the right path. I'm going in the right direction. And there's no finish line. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Brooke, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. I want everyone to check out BMD Consulting. You can find that at brookemdukes.com. We're going to link it up down there. And Success by Design Club, yes. brookemdukes.com/Success by Design. We're going to link it up. Where else could folks find you? Where could they connect? Where could they learn more?
I am Brooke Dukes on every social media channel. And also our website has so much information. There's a lot of freebies. You can get newsletters, assessments, blogs, you name it. We want to help as many people as possible.
Awesome. Great conversation. Brooke Dukes, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast here. And everyone listening, if this show meant something to you, please leave a review. Rating it goes a long way. Check out more at thepodcast.com. Follow us on all the social media channels. You know what they are. Subscribe, comment, network. Remember, be good to yourself, be better to others, and catch us next week for another great episode of the podcast. Take care, everybody.
Wisdom is forever, but for us, it's time to go. Thank you for joining us. Luckily, we'll be back with our next episode soon, jam-packed with more incredible humans. Thank you for listening, subscribing, and sharing. To join the conversation, search The Podcast on LinkedIn. And to catch up on past episodes and more info, please visit www.thepodcast.com.